This lecture is about the GoogleVis R package. GoogleVis provides an interface to the GoogleVis API. The API is designed to allow you to make plots that appear in HTML pages. So for example, you can make geoplots, which show distribution of data across geographic surfaces, scatter plots just like you would in R, but made available over HTML, and other kinds of charts like column charts and a large number of other kinds of interactive data visualizations that are all made possible with the GoogleVis API. The GoogleVis R package wraps these visualizations in simple-to-use R commands. So the basic idea is that the R function creates an HTML page, and then the HTML page calls Google Charts API, and the result is an interactive or clickable HTML graphic. So here's an example. I'm loading the GoogleVis package, and you can see I'm using this suppress package startup messages just so a large message isn't printed when I load that library. And then I'm going to create a GoogleVis motion chart with this command here. So gviz motion chart, and I'm going to send it the fruits dataset, which is one of the basic datasets in the R distribution. And I'm going to plot fruit versus year, and I'm going to set the options to set the particular size of the data visualization. Then what I could do if I was working in R interactively would be to say plot M, but since I'm using this in a Slideify presentation, I'm showing it a different way. I'm saying print M chart, and what that'll do is it'll actually print out the chart so that we can see it here. And you can see that if I play with this chart, it's actually interactive. You can sort of slide time forward and backward and see the plot of sales versus expenses colored by their location, for example, and the chart is interactive in this way. These are very similar to the types of charts that Hans Rosling created in his famous TED Talk. And so it's very cool that you can create this sort of visualization with just one command in R. In GoogleVis, the types of charts that you're going to be making all start with gviz, that's the beginning of the visualization function name, plus the name of the chart type that you want to make. So as we saw on the previous slide, gviz motion chart makes a motion chart, gviz geochart makes a map of the world, gviz table makes a table that's interactive, and then you can make more standard plots like line charts, column charts, and tree maps. If you go to the GoogleVis help file, it will tell you a lot more about all the other types of plots. I've only shown a subset of the types of plots that can be created with the GoogleVis package here. So on maps, here's the kind of plot that you can make. So here I'm using gviz geochart, which creates a geochart. And again, I pass it the data frame. This is the exports data frame. And I tell it what location variable I want to use. That location can either be passed as a latitude, longitude, or as a set of names. And then I tell it what variable to color by, in this case, this profit variable. And again, I'm just setting the options to make the height and the width a particular size. And then I print that geochart. In R, if you're doing this interactively, you would do plot G. And so what you can see here is a chart that's been created that's also interactive. And so it's a map, but if you mouse over, say, for example, the United States, it tells you what the values of the profit variable are for all of the countries that appear in the data set. So it's a quick way to make an interactive geographic plot. You can also specify a specific region. So here I've used the exact same command I used a minute ago with this gviz geochart, and I passed it the same data set, and I've told it to plot the same location and variable. But now I say, look at one specific region. I say region 150. That region denotes Europe in this gviz geochart call. And so when I plot that graphic, I see only the European countries highlighted, and it's still an interactive graph. So the question is, how did I figure out which region to plot using this option here, passed to the options list? The way that you find the options to pass to that options list is to go to the configuration options component of the help files on Google developers for the particular chart that you care about. So here I'm looking at the geochart options, and I can see among the configuration options a large number of parameters. These are the names of the parameters that you might use, and then it tells you what kind of R object you can pass to it, and then what is the default parameter that is going to be set by default when using the visualization, and then a description of how you can more flexibly use that parameter to fine-tune the graphics to be exactly how you want them to be. So here's an example from setting a lot more options. This is taken directly from a talk given by the GoogleVis creator himself. And so the idea is I built this data frame here, and I want to build a simple line chart. And so here I'm going to use a GVis line chart to make that line chart. I'm going to pass it this simple data frame. The X variable is going to be the label. The Y variable are going to be these two values. And then I can pass it a long list of options. You can see it gets cut off a little bit here, but the options is just a list where I passed particular parameter values from the lineup of configuration options on the GoogleVis website and the values that I'd like them to have. So for example, on the horizontal axis, I've set the title to be my label and the text style color to be blue. I can also say, for example, that the vertical axis is going to have a different title value 1%, and then it's going to tell you the format for the way that you want that to be displayed. These can be quite flexible and involve a little bit of digging into the GoogleVis API in order to be totally flexible in the way that you make these plots. But the result is a line chart where you can customize the color of the lines that you see here, the axes, and all the information about where the cutoff lines will be and so forth. All that information you can customize using the GoogleVis API. To combine multiple plots together, you can actually create quite nice visualizations that are multiple panel plots. And the way to do that is to create several different GoogleVis objects. So the first step is I create a GoogleVis GeoChart, then I create a GoogleVis interactive table, and a GoogleVis motion chart. I can then merge them together two at a time. So first, I merge together the GeoChart and the table, and so I set horizontal to be equal to false. In other words, I stack them on top of each other, and then I merge together the this merged object and the motion chart, and I set horizontal equal to be true, so these two charts will be next to the motion chart. Notice that I've set up the lengths and widths so that those charts will match up with each other on the next slide. And so here you can see when I print this chart, I get interactive GeoChart up in the corner, an interactive table over here on this side, and then a motion chart over here, and they're all linked together. And so in this particular plot, in the Slideify slide, it looks a little bit strange with this extra gray space around the plots. But if you make this plot on your own using the code that I've shown here, you'll see that it creates a very nice website with all three figures linked to each other. You can actually look directly at the HTML code from these plots as well. Here I've created a GVis motion chart, again just using the simple command where I pass it the fruits data, and then I tell it what I want the outcome variable and the time variable to be. And then when I type print and then pass it the motion chart object, I actually get, this is actually the HTML that's being used to create that object. So you can go in and look at the HTML and see how it's been coded up. And if you want to, you can directly edit the HTML if you know about CSS and HTML coding. You can do a large number of things with GoogleVis. You can embed them in websites using this HTML code. In other words, you can just take this HTML code right out and plug it into a website. You can create dynamic visualizations using the Shiny server, which we've talked about in this data products class, or with the Rook and R.RSP frameworks. You can also embed them in R Markdown-based documents. You basically do that by setting results equals quote as is in the chunk options. That's what I've done. You can look at the slides code for these slides to see how that works. And you can do it with both Knitter and Slideify. So you can embed them in interactive documents, you can put them on the web, and you can share them with your friends. For more information and to see a whole bunch of other GoogleVis plots, you can load the GoogleVis package and then type demo GoogleVis, and it'll go through plot by plot explaining to you how those plots work. The vignette is actually very, very good, the vignette written by the developer of GoogleVis, and then the documentation is quite extensive as well. If you want to get some inspiration for different kinds of graphs that you can use with the GoogleVis API, you can go here to the chart gallery from Google. And then here's a set of frequently asked questions about the GoogleVis API if you need to get more information about how that backend to this R package works.